Number 1, batteries are your weak spot for winter drone flying. And number 2, moisture sadly is the nemesis. There are 8 more tips which I'll get into in just a second, but let's delve down to these first 2, which are the core of all winter flying problems. Okay, number 1. Even though batteries have progressed greatly over the last few years in the world of DJI drones, they continue to be the weak spot for winter flying. They deplete faster in the cold. So, because of that, what do we have to do? I hear you say. Well, first tip. You want to make sure that you're charging your batteries fully to the very top, to the brim, 24 hours before you head out to fly. And then even top them up in the morning, just as you're having your coffee before you head out. That's the first thing you'd want to do. Secondly, when you're on your journey, make sure that you're keeping them warm. Put them on the dashboard of your car. Keep them where the radiator, make sure they stay nice and warm. Now, if you happen to be parking your car and you have to make a bit of a journey to get to that perfect spot for the golden hour, well then you can use lots of other tips and tricks like keeping the batteries in your pocket or even having hand warmers to keep them nice and warm so that when you do eventually launch your drone, they're warmer, or at least at room temperature, which is quite hard to do when you're in an area with freezing conditions. The next tip that I would be giving you is that when you do put your batteries in, they're now at room temperature, you're outside, you start your drone, up it comes, let it hover for about 30 seconds just to see on the app how the batteries are reacting in the freezing conditions or in the really cold conditions. And then once you see that they're behaving quite normal, off you go. But go nice and slowly. Don't be just whizzing off in sports mode, because that's when the problems can happen. Anyway, we want our footage to be nice and smooth, and sometimes the first few minutes of flight is where we're getting the best footage. So don't just whiz off like a madman, like some of you are, because you're so enthused to get your drone up and out there. Take it easy, calm down, get your zen on, and then just take off nicely and off you go. Plus it helps the battery. Number 2, moisture is the nemesis of every drone flyer. Why? Because our DJI drones are not waterproof. Nowhere have I seen it written down in any of the manuals that they are waterproof. So if we are taking them out in the cold weather where there's moisture in the air, where there's the opportunity that things may freeze, you gotta be extra careful. Just don't be reckless. Like I was last year, where I flew right up into the clouds. Don't fly into the clouds. Why? Because there is more moisture, and if you're up that high, it's going to be even colder. So there exists the possibility that the propellers will actually freeze, like they did to me. Check out the video up here so that you can see that experience which I had when winter flying, when the props actually froze and the thing nearly fell out of the sky. Don't be like me. Be smart. That's why I'm making this video. So if you're not hiking and you've brought the drone directly out of your vehicle and you've set it up and you've put in the batteries and everything's looking good, just remember to check the camera lens to make sure that there's no fogging up because of the sudden change of temperature. This has happened to me before. Then you start recording and you're wondering why your footage isn't clear. That won't sell on Shutterstock, that's for sure. Okay, so here come the rest of the tips. So tip number 3, which kind of backs up the first 2 points as well, just bring a cloth with you and give it a good little dry off. Get rid of all the moisture, get rid of all of the fogginess that might be on the camera, and off you go. Just a little dry off will actually help to make sure to give you that calmness of conscience that you're taking off and you've done everything in your power to make sure that no moisture has got into the system. Tip number 4, remember to reduce your flight time accordingly. Batteries deplete a lot quicker in the winter. Don't be afraid to bring the drone down and change the battery. Make sure everything is in order and pop it up again. That's what I would definitely be doing in winter drone flying, more so than in the summertime. In the summer you can be a bit more relaxed. In the winter time we're on tender hooks because there's so much more that can go wrong. We don't want to lose our precious drones right after getting them. And these really apply post-Christmas because we're all excited. A lot of us will have got a drone for Christmas and we want to get out there and it's freezing and we don't exactly know how the drone will react in the cold, freezing temperatures. So reduce your flight time. It's not about how long you're up in the sky. It's about getting the correct shot to help your storytelling in general. On that note, the next tip I would be saying to you, if it is snowing, you can get some wonderful shots. I love watching winter drone footage where the snow is falling, but I would be suggesting to fly backways so that the camera lens isn't hitting the snow head on. And that way, the lens isn't going to get a piece of snow on it, which afterwards melts into water, and then you fly up higher and it becomes iced. No. Many of you know that I'm not a great fan of the old landing mat because of the extra stuff that you gotta carry, but for winter drone flying it definitely is a must, especially if you're not going to hand catch or hand lift off. That initial starting up of the propellers can make for particles of moisture, rain, snow to actually then get into the drone or to hit the camera, which we don't want. Another very useful tip, of course, is to download the UAV app. This will give you all the conditions for the place that you're going to. Put in the destination of where you plan to fly your drone and it will give you exactly the conditions that you need to see is it even worth it. Because certainly here in Ireland you can have weather in one spot, but when you arrive to the actual destination where you want to get the perfect shot for your next big story, it turns out that you can't even fly at all because the weather conditions have changed so much. So that's very useful for any of you who need to prepare. Remember, failing to prepare is to prepare to fail. Got it in one. Another tip would be, of course, to be aware that when you're returning home or when you're lowering the drone, if there is a lot of snow and the snowflakes are big, it may cause some problems with the obstacle avoidance. So if you feel confident enough, you could always turn that off to make sure that that doesn't interfere with the landing process. Last tip is, of course, look after yourself. Make sure that you yourself have the proper clothing on, that you yourself have the little gloves where you can continue to actually use your iPhone in the cold without the tips of your fingers freezing. And it has happened to me, I've forgotten to charge my iPhone to 100%. I know, basic rookie error, but it can happen. We're that busy worrying about charging all our batteries properly on our DJI drones that we actually forget about the phone. Finally, another tip. God, Patrick, you've been giving us some great tips in this video. Yes, I know, but another tip is that if you arrive to your destination and of course you've got line of sight through the car window, why even get out of the car at all? Whip the drone out, get back in your car and control it from inside with the heater on. That's a really good one. As long as you can see it, why not just stay in the car? If I have missed any other winter tips which you consider to be essential, don't be afraid to let me know in the comments below. We're all here to help each other. Please remember to hit that like button if indeed you have liked the video. Throw an old comment below, especially if you have a tip that I've missed. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I'll see you later. This is Patrick. Bye bye. Do you want to... You're not take off. So... What happened here? Just went off. That's not good. Folks, thank you for joining me with the...